Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So my little sister haunted the Good Samaritan who tried to help her when she passed away for like a year and a half. So now I didn't necessarily believe in ghosts, but I didn't not believe because I didn't know enough. So I just stayed away from all that stuff. My little sister struggled with her mental health and with addiction leading up until her passing away. And in November 2020, she got in a car accident. So we were told, her family were told, she had passed on impact and had pretty much, passed away immediately. And that's all we really knew. We knew that someone had tried to stop and help, but she was already passed, so there was nothing that could be done. Well, about a year and a half passes, and I receive a random message on Facebook. And, it's saying, hi, I'm trying to reach this person's family. Are you related to her? And I said, yeah, that's my little sister, And I said, who are you? And right away, I just had a gut feeling. I was like, this is the guy who stopped, isn't it? So right away, he messages back and goes, yeah, I'm the guy who stopped, and I really need to talk to someone in your family. And I was like, okay, And luckily, he found me because I'm autistic and good at separating feelings and stuff. So I gave him my phone number and I had him call me. So we sat on the phone for close to an hour. And he starts telling me all the details. Now, apparently my little sister did not pass immediately. She was alive for a few minutes and passed away in, his arms. And he held on to a guilt that he wasn't able to save her, And I tried to tell him, and I hope I got through to him, that my family is forever grateful that someone was there with her, that she didn't pass away alone. So we got through that, but then he starts telling me, he had been in therapy for a year or so immediately after, for PTSD and stuff, and he had been seeing my little sister's ghost. She was just popping up in the corners and the shadows and stuff. She'd never say anything. She would just sit there and stare at him. And so after about a year of therapy, he thought it finally worked. She stopped. She kind of disappeared. And then she came back. So he decided to go to a psychic, and he sits down. Before he even says anything, the psychic immediately sends my little sister and was like, there's a young woman who, passed away a sudden and kind of violent death. Her energy is around you. And he immediately started, telling her kind of the story. And she's like, she hasn't moved on. She's still hanging around because you need to get a message for her to her family. You need to tell her family that she is okay now. She's at peace. She's okay, and they can let go because, she's happy. So as soon as he told me that, he never saw her again. We're still friends. It's been, 3.5 years. We've gotten together. Great guy. But yeah, that solidified my belief in ghosts.
You might know me for the ghost story trend and telling my ghost story, which had to do with the Ouija board. And I posted a video subsequently to that saying that I found out my friend still has the Ouija board. And I finally got the video of what it looks like if you wanted to see it. Again, we spoke with demons on it. So seeing it definitely triggered some memories that aren't pleasant. But here you go.
All right, here it is. Haven't opened this up quite a while. Looks like it's been through some shit though. Just regular plastic planchette. The board. Danielle says that I should burn it or bury it or something, but I'm not gonna do that.
I want to know, did this story make you want to talk to a demon through a Ouija board? or make you want to run far away, because I'm hoping it made you want to run far away.
Y'all want to know something that is creepy as hell to me? Is when somebody know you, but you don't know them. So there's a difference between, you know, when people know you from TikTok, when you do social media and stuff like that, a lot of people tend to know you. Like, say, for instance, when I used to go to the mall, I would run into people and they would be like, oh, I know you from TikTok, this, that, and the third. Or go to a restaurant. They'll tell you they know you from TikTok, which will kind of lower your guard, because now it's not so weird. You know what I'm saying? But when people don't tell you where they know you from, that is creepy as hell to me. So prime example, okay, I'm rolling through the hood. I see that these people out here having a block party. I'm bored, I ain't got shit to do, so I get out, and yeah, I'm by myself. You might call that crazy, but I'm used to doing stuff like that. So I get out, you know, I'm mingling, I'm really like social and stuff like that. So it really wasn't a problem, you know. I wasn't giving no negative vibes, no negative energy. So, you know, everything was going good. So the food is down here, all the way down here from where my car was parked. Before you get to the food, it's these people lined up in their chairs, and they just sitting there. It's like some older women and some older men, and they sitting right in front of the apartment that was having the block party. So I'm walking on my way to get the food, and this lady yells out, and she was like, hey, how you been? And I immediately was like, who are you? Because mind you, I was tipsy, and usually when I'm tipsy, if you don't know, I like to just get straight to the point. So if you ask me something, or I feel a little animosity in your voice, I'm gonna just try to get to what the bottom of the issue is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat and pussyfoot. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm good, you know, shit like that. No, who are you? Because I don't know you. I don't know her by her face. I've never seen this woman before in my life, and she talking to me like she know me. So I'm asking her, well, who are you? Before I start giving out my information, she was like, is your name Jock? Now, mind you, when this incident happened, I had never even had Jock in my username on TikTok or anything like that. My name was Pretty Brown Marie and Aries Finesse. I never put my actual name or nickname in my TikTok. Now I have That's Jock, but I just recently changed it to that. So when this incident happened, my name didn't have nothing about Jock in it. So she couldn't have known me from TikTok. She was like, is your name Jock? I was like, yeah. I was like, what's your name? And she just sat there and smiled at me like, with this creepy behind smile. So I was like, well, how do you know me? Or whatever. And she was like, she just didn't say nothing. So I was like, is it from church? Because I'm thinking, you know, I used to go to church a while back, and usually when older people, this was an older lady, so usually when older people say that they know me, is usually from my mom, because most people say that me and my mom look alike and they know me as her daughter or something like that, you know. I asked her, did she know me from church? She like, no. Do you know me from my mom? She like, no. Bitch, how do you know me then? Because now you creeping me the fuck out. So I kept asking her, and she just would not give me an explanation. And then she never told me what her name was. Now that is some scary shit, in the words of Regina Hall. Some scary shit.
This is a documentation of me and Chloe, just in case we die.
Yep.
Because we watched this video on TikTok about how Lucifer has come to Earth 3 times, one in the wildfires in Australia, one on the day Corona started, and one on 9/11. Saw his face in the smoke and in the fire. And as soon as the video ended, all the power in the house went off, and we don't know what to do, because literally this is what it looks like outside. Say hi. Ryan, if you are here, make yourself known. We welcome you. Oh, that's the dog. What? Car door. Who's here?
So this particular day, I get up, I get my daughter dressed, I catch the train. I decided to walk from the train station to a bus stop. I'm walking and I'm looking at my baby. She's in a stroller and she's facing me. It's like there's nobody outside. It's a beautiful day, the sun's shining. I hear some walking behind me. So when I turn around, it's this old ass lady. So she's like, hey. I'm like, hey, how you doing? She said, that's a beautiful baby. I done stopped so I can talk to this lady. She said, well, can I have her? I said, no. I said, this is my baby. She said, I think she'll be better off with me. I get ready to push out. She put her hand on my hand. A car jumps the curve at the bus stop, running to the bus stop. If I hadn't stopped, I would have been standing at that bus stop with my baby. I turned around to look for the lady. The lady didn't disappear. A couple years later, I'm at my cousin's house and I'm going through some pictures. And I stumble upon this picture. In this picture is that same lady from the bus stop. So I'm telling my cousin, I say, hey, who is this? He said, that's your grandmother. That's your daddy mama. What?
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I did a lot of my growing up in Orange County, and up until I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old or so, I was living in an apartment complex in Santa Ana on Highland Street. And in that apartment, I lived with my cousin who was around my age, my aunt, my parents, and my older sister. A lot of my time there was spent hanging out with my sister and my cousin because a lot of the kids were older than me, and plus we didn't stay there for too long, so whatever. So yeah, anyway, years after we had moved on from that place, I was taking a trip down memory lane with my mom, and the topic of that apartment came up, and sorry, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so yeah, the topic of that apartment came up, and I asked my mom, like, hey, whatever happened to that cousin that we used to live with? Because, ever since we moved out of that apartment, never heard from him again. And, my mom looks at me kind of perplexed, and she sits me down and she goes, okay, I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told anyone else in the family before because I didn't want to scare them. And, I was kind of confused at what she was trying to get at. But basically, she goes on to say that that kid was in that apartment when we moved in. And that kid was a ghost. And what this kid would do is he would run up and down the hallways and look into everyone's rooms. And that's how my mom first noticed this kid. And he would never go into her room. And her guess is probably because she was an adult. But because I was around his age, he would always be in my room, playing with my toys, hanging out with me, talking to me, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's been years, and I still think about that kid all the time. But, the funny thing is, I couldn't tell you a single detail about what that kid looked like. Eye, hair, skin color, I don't know. Clothes that he wore, what his voice sounded like, couldn't tell you. And my mom can't tell you either. She doesn't remember. All she remembers is that there was a kid in that house that ran up and down the hallway. And all I knew is that there was a cousin around my age and we hung out all the time. But yeah, I don't know. Funny story. I got more if you want them.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely.
So whenever I was little, I could see ghosts a lot. Like, I could talk to God. I could talk to ghosts a lot whenever I was little. But there's this one story, and it happened when I was 7 years old, and it's like one of the scariest stories ever. It traumatized me. I can't even walk into a room without closing the door behind me because I'm afraid it's going to slam before I even get to leave it. But anyway, what happened is my brother was babysitting me, and my parents took my little brother to the store. And so my brother was watching me, and he had all of his friends. They were all on the football team with him. They were all a bunch of jocks, that kind of thing. And so they're sitting around the table and playing the Ouija board. And I'm just a 7-year-old little girl. I'm running around it and yelling stuff into it. Hello, what's your name? Yelling all things like that. And my brother gets annoyed, and he makes me get in the corner in my parents' room. He grabs me by the arm and takes me to the room. And I'm terrified because we were just playing with a Ouija board, Any little kid would be scared of that. But he takes me to the room and has me stand in the corner. And keep in mind, the door is right next to me. And then I'm in the corner right here. And then across the front door of by where I'm standing of the bedroom door is the bathroom door, which doesn't have a door, but it's a door frame and then it leads into the bathroom. And this is my parents' room. And so basically, the door was leaning up against the door frame in the front bedroom door. And it was off the hinges. It was just leaning. And he moved it, had me get in the corner, and then he leaned it back up against the frame. I tell him I'm scared, I don't want to do it. I just let me come in there, I won't say anything else. And he says, no, I got to stand here and face the corner. And so I'm standing there facing the corner, silent, minding my business, terrified, and the door slams, shuts, and locks into the frame. And I think it's him messing with me. I think it's him and his friends messing with me because how scared I was. No. And so I'm I'm banging on the door. I don't know why I said he's banging on it, but I'm banging on the door, scared, like, hey, let me out, and they can't even hear me. They don't even realize. They're too busy laughing and playing with the Ouija board. But the lights start flickering in the room, and I, like, start to realize it, and I turn around, and you remember that bathroom that I was talking about? There was this man, like, this thing. It was a man, but it's like it was something more. It was so terrifying. But he, like, I'll show you. So he was standing in, like, he wasn't standing. He was, like, on all fours, and he was in the doorway like this, but, like he was smiling at me, like he was looking at me. And then I turn, and I start screaming and banging on the door, like, ah, let me out. And then he crawls at me. Like, I don't want to show you because it's really scary, and I don't even think I can do that with my body. I couldn't even do that when I was 7. But my brother hears me screaming, and he runs, and he's banging on the door, and keep in mind, this door was just off the hinges, and linebackers are charging at it, and it's not budging. But I feel like scratches on my back, like I'm getting scratched. And my brother, like, he told me, like, his side of the story. He said that he was, like, putting screwdrivers in the door handle, like, the doorknob, trying to get it off, everything, and nothing would work, and this door was just off the frame. Sorry about my stuffy nose. Oh my god. But yeah, so he just hears me screaming. The door's not budging, so what they do is they go around outside, and I see them, like, I peek out the window to them because I see that they're trying to get around to me. And it's a double wide trailer that our house is, basically. And so my brother pushes, like, our friend, like, his family friend, Carlos, up through the window, and I'm laying there on the ground. I'm just laying there on the ground. I'm unconscious or something. I don't really remember that part very much, but I remember being scratched up all on my back and him crawling at me. It was terrifying. It was so scary. Like, I've told people the story so many times, and I still just get chills about it, or I'm scared to go into rooms by myself. It's a lot. But Carlos came through the window, and he picked me up from the ground and carried me out of the room. And then my brother saw the scratches all over my back. He got in trouble with my mom, and my mom, she'll say that it's not true, but she didn't believe us at first. She didn't, and then she went to the school and found out her own little information and found out that there was a man that lived in our house named Ron who killed his kids because they were misbehaving, and then killed his wife because she came home and saw what he did, and then he killed himself in the room where that happened. He killed himself in the room that I was standing in the corner, my parents' bedroom. Yeah, that's just one really big ghost occurrence that I've had, but I've had so many other than that.
Would you prefer a haunted apartment or a not haunted apartment? Call me crazy, but I'd prefer a not haunted apartment. Let me tell you about the first place that I lived with my husband and my baby that I feel like was quite haunted. Now, before we start, I'm a skeptic. So this whole time, all this crazy shit that happened, I'm still not 100% convinced, but the very last thing kind of makes me think, is this real? Okay, so this is 2002. I was 20 years old, and I had a 1-year-old baby, and I lived with my husband in an apartment in Frankfort, Illinois. Now, if you are at all familiar with Frankfort, Illinois, you will know that it has like a very 1800s old-timey feel. There's a little downtown Frankfort area. It's very cute, but like they very much keep up the like 1800s. 1800s are alive and well in the town. I feel like that's important, so you know the creepiness of the town. Okay, so we move into this apartment. It's on the 2nd floor. We realize that it's just got 4 units in the apartment. This unit is the only one with wood floors. We're like, oh, yay, we lucked out. We have wood floors. All the rest of them have, like, old crappy carpet, you know? So the first creepy thing that happens is I am taking a nap with my baby, and she's laying on me on the couch, And okay, so my husband does HVAC. He does heating and cooling. So he goes out to a call. If he's in the area, he may stop by for like lunch, grab a sandwich, or go to the bathroom, grab something to drink, whatever. So I was used to him coming in the door, you know, different times of the day. So I feel while I'm like asleep, but I'm like half asleep because, you know, I have, you know, my daughter Abby is on me, so I don't want to move around too much on the couch. So it's, moms will know, like, you know, you're asleep, but you're like kind of still awake. So I feel like somebody like caressing my cheek and caressing my forehead like this. And I'm like, you know, I don't really open my eyes, but I definitely feel it. I feel it. Okay. Not like any other time in my life, not like a dream, not like I felt somebody caressing my cheek and my forehead, okay? So I assume it's my husband, obviously. So when he comes home at the end of the day, I say, hey, what were you doing? You know, you came in and saw me and Abby while we were napping on the couch, like, sorry I didn't get up or whatever. And he's like, Allison, I worked like downtown like an hour away today. I wasn't here. What are you talking about? I'm like, you are so effing with me. Like, yes, you absolutely did. Swears he didn't. Okay, fine. Maybe I hallucinated this, but like, I know I didn't, but okay. No, I'm not thinking like too much of it. That was kind of weird. Let's move on with our lives. So the next creepy thing that happened was my husband was out on a Saturday night with his friends and I was home with Abby and I'm watching TV, and this is like later, like maybe 10, 11 o'clock. We used to get those glass Oberweis chocolate milks, you know, milk jugs, and then we would recycle, you know, the glass afterwards. So I had the milk jug sitting on the kitchen counter, and all of a sudden I hear a pop. The top of the Oberweis jug, out of nowhere, I hadn't touched that jug since the morning, popped up, hit the ceiling, and fell down. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? So when my husband gets home, I tell him, he's like, well, the pressure built up in the milk jug all day. Like, that's not that weird. I'm like, no, that's so creepy. I've never seen that happen before. Like, just out of nowhere. So creepy. Still, I'm not thinking too much about this. Okay, this is going way too long. Come back for part 2.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
Okay, so in my house growing up, my childhood bedroom was attached to the attic. It was in my closet, and there was like this little wooden door on the other side behind my clothes. And when you opened it, you couldn't actually see into the attic. You could only see up the stairs that would take you to the attic. So I never messed with it. I just left it alone. I was like, I don't want to, this is too much. So I would barricade it. I would just leave the escape ladder for a fire in front of it. So I knew that if it was opened, I would hear it. And for a very long time, I always felt like there was a presence in my room. I didn't really know what was going on. It never felt like I was truly alone, and I was an only child of only children. So like your girl was alone all the time. And I eventually moved my room around to the point where I had this little desk that was like a triangle style desk, so it went straight into the corner. And one night, I woke up in the middle of the night to my bunny rabbit banging against his crate, which he would do almost every night at almost the same exact time, 3:34 a.m. And one night I look over under this desk and there's this little boy under there. And I can tell he's not real, but like I don't really know why I can tell he's not real. It's just maybe he was just like fainter. I just could tell he wasn't a real person. And I wasn't scared. He wasn't scary. He was just in this little like ball kind of sitting under my desk, and he just looked sad. He just looked sad. And I mean, I didn't love that he was there, but I really didn't mind it too much, maybe because I was half asleep. So I went back to bed, woke up, he was gone, obviously, and I just kind of I went through my day, whatever. And every so often, I would end up waking up to my bunny at the same exact time, and he would just be under this desk in my bedroom. And my parents didn't believe in ghosts, and I didn't really tell anyone about it because I was just like, this is weird. What if I'm dreaming? I don't know what's really going on. That wasn't a conversation that my family and I had about ghosts, whatever. And I just kind of let it be. But as I got older, he never really went away. And I would always just get really creeped out in my house as I got older, and my family never understood why. Like, I didn't really like for it to be dark. I had a nightlight for years, like well into my teenage years. And it was just always because I knew there were other presence in the house. And he was, I'm going to tell you how he was dressed because it's going to play a role in a second. He looked like a little chimney sweep from Mary Poppins. He had the whole attire, the hat. He had what looked like soot on him. And I just thought it was because he lived in the attic upstairs, and that's how I justified it. And I just kind of was like, whatever, didn't really talk to him, didn't really converse with him, let it be. I moved out of the house once I went to college and became an adult, bought my house, moved out, and my dad lived in the house last by himself. He was working on selling the house and told me one night that he had a dream. And it was really weird because he was almost being shown the house by someone who he had never seen there, who he didn't know, who was a little kid, and he didn't really understand the importance of this kid, but this kid just wanted to show him around the house. And he was like, it was really daunting because I woke up and he was just kind of looking at me from the end of my bed. And I walked around with him. He didn't say anything. And then we just kind of went on our way, and that was it. And I was like, okay, so tell me more about this little boy. Because mind you, I had never told my family this little boy, what he looked like, anything like that. I just said that I felt like there was something in the house all the time. That's all I said. And he proceeds to tell me that it looks like he has like suspenders on, and like he's from like early 20s, not early 20s, early 1900s, mid 1900s, and that he was like kind of dirty. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting. Is there any chance he was wearing like a little hat like a chimney sweep would? And he goes, yeah, it kind of did look like one of those hats. And I was like, interesting. Okay. And was he like almost covered in soot, like maybe he was a chimney sweep? And he goes, yeah, he was pretty dirty. And I was like, that's really interesting. And this was a boy, right? Like he was probably like 8, 9. And he was like, yeah, that's exactly about how old I would have pegged him for. And I was like, yeah, that boy has been living in my bedroom for almost my entire life. And you got to meet him, I guess, because you're the only one there. And he was like, no, no, no. And I was like, yeah, he showed up in your dreams. Probably around 3 a.m. is when he came and popped by, because I know that you go to work at 4:30 a.m. He goes, yeah, I was awake for probably like an hour before my alarm went off for me to like go to work. And I was like, that's interesting. That is interesting. So I convinced my dad that ghosts are real and that I had been seeing his ghost for 15 plus years, and he got to meet him.